Hello and welcome to Tiny Desk Knitting with Emma. Today is now September, which is crazy. I'm wearing my Neighborhood Fiber Company Vivian t-shirt. For those of you who are not familiar, Neighborhood Fiber Company is a studio, a yarn dyeing studio in Baltimore City. It's, I think, like the only yarn store. No, Hampton is technically in Baltimore City. It's really the only one in like downtown Baltimore. They dye yarn there. So if you go to visit them, which you can on Fridays and Saturdays, you actually walk through their studio to get to their store, which is super cool. And it is, I think it's a Black-owned business, and they are like amazing yarn dyers. They have a lot of like really beautiful like ombre fade kits. They have like Pride rainbow sets of yarn that you can get. They have a bunch of different bases. They're gorgeous. Some of them are like nice like luxury bases, like they have silk and cashmere and stuff. A lot of the colors are named after places in Baltimore, and I mean, like, I see them and I'm like, that's got to be Washington DC. I think it's Baltimore and Washington DC. And yeah, they're phenomenal. They're really cool. So check out Neighborhood Fiber Co. If you want some cool hand-dyed yarn. This is not an advertisement. Like, I just think that they're cool, and I have this shirt and I'm wearing it, and so you should check them out. I have a tape measure with Vivian on it too. She's like their mascot. Anyway, okay, lots going on today. I have really been like, if you've been following, I'm really trying to finish projects. I would love to have some new cast-ons this fall, but I will have some new cast-ons this fall. But right now, you know, I think there's definitely like something, you know, in my nagging at me, like the school year has now started. You need to finish your projects and be more monogamous. So that's fine. I think that's a good urge. You know, I've kind of wanted to be in the place where I have like a color work whip, maybe a cable whip, a vanilla whip, and, you know, socks, and maybe an accessory. I do an accessory like on the weekends. The thing about accessories is they don't usually stay whips. They usually get done really quickly, unless they're like Fair Isle or something, in which case they still get done pretty quickly. So I am trying to just like puzzle out my feelings about what I want to make this fall. I don't know. I have like a whole spreadsheet of all the sweater quantities I have, and I'm trying to like look at, you know, what did I get a really long time ago that I should probably knit with, and like that kind of thing. So we'll see what happens. Obviously you will join me on this journey if you watch my channel. So I'll tell you what I'm up to right now, what I'm trying to get done. Couple things I finished this week, very exciting. Number one, I did finish this. Hannah finished hers too last night, so this is my Alpenglow. It's still a little wet. It totally fits. I love how it looks. I love the Spincycle with the really like rusticy Peter's Home farm yarn from Vermont. I love all the way the colors go together, like this variegated Malabrigo Arroyo up here, with this purple, and then again with the Melancholia Spincycle. I had plenty left over, so I did the corrugated rib in Melancholia as well. I think it took, yeah, I only used one skein of Spincycle. I still had some. Hannah has 15 grams left of her skein too, and she used a little less than me because I think hers is, she did fewer body repeats, and I did something stupid and did 7 rows of plain in between the mosaic bands. So that was like my own stupid fault. I would put this on, but it's not totally dry. It was outside overnight, so I grabbed it. It's pretty dry. It smells great. It smells like jasmine. All my things always smell like jasmine because I use jasmine wool wash. So I'm looking forward to wearing this to Rhinebeck, you know, when it's colder. I need to stop holding it up by the shoulders because this Malabrigo Arroyo is super wash and it will stretch out. So I'm just gonna pop it over this chair for now. Okay, well, maybe not. That's fine. It's fine. Like, I don't want the sleeves to stretch out. No, it's not really gonna happen. Let's just do that. But I did stitch the neck down. As you saw, if you've been watching my journey with this sweater, it's been a journey. You'll know that I didn't have the turtleneck stitched down, but I did stitch it, and I like the way it looks with it folded. Okay, I also finished something I completely forgot about this week. I don't think I've showed it on my channel at all. Maybe I did, I don't know. This is a little t-shirt that I made with basically some sock yarn leftovers and a skein of Spincycle. So I got the top 2 skeins, so the bright yellow, which actually has green flecks, so you can see them there, and then this one. So then it becomes Spincycle here, which is a much more seamless transition from these two, but I love it anyway. These two are dyed by at Haynes House Yarn. So At Haynes House has a Jane Austen collection. Terry from At Haynes House used to work at Barnes & Noble. We've met at, where did we meet? Frederick Fiberfest is where I met Terry and her amazing family. And they have a Jane Austen collection. So she did some yarn support for me for my Jane Austen socks. And so this is the Jane Bennett colorway. And this is Emma Woodhouse. And I am gonna have those sample socks knit up in these colors for my pattern releases. Speaking of socks, I'm gonna release the socks once a month in 2023. I haven't made a decision. So if you're one of my sock test knitters, you can prepare to see the next sock like in a couple days. I think I'm gonna send it out so that I'm doing it every 2 months so that next year we can release them every month. Yeah, and so this is Spincycle Dyed in the wool in the colorway Sunset Strip, which has been in my stash for like 3 years, and I was like, I'm just gonna use that in a little t-shirt and it's gonna be super cute. It's you know, this is sock weight yarn and I did it at like a gauge of 20 to 22 stitches over 4 inches. So it's like pretty loose. I have to wear it with like a white camisole underneath, but I like it. I think it's cute, it's fun. Summer has not left us quite yet. So the Spincycle just flew. Oh my gosh, it was addicting. And I know it's Spincycle, it's always addicting, but yeah. I had a little Zauberball left over from my Velocore that I almost used at the very end, but then I was like, nah. But oh gosh, just love that. And again, like this transition was incredible. The top one, not as, I should have done some helical knitting for a few rounds to like blend them a little bit more. I considered it, but I was like, nah, it's okay. That's too much work. But it's got a little cap sleeves and it's got a little V-neck. Instead of doing like a V-neck increase every 4 rows, I did one every 2 rows. So it's just like a little V-neck, which thought it was different. It's a tight, actually it's a pretty tight neckline, but it doesn't hit me here. So I just figured, okay, fine. So yeah, those are the things that I finished this week. Wait, this is totally being pulled and he did not do that. Sorry, getting distracted by yeah, there we go. I don't want it to get stretched out of shape because it's still wet. Okay, so Alpenglow was like my last recent sweater whip that I had cast on. So I just finished in the last month. I finished the Cloudsley, and then I finished the reindeer sweater, and then I finished this. Cloudsley I cast it on in like May after Maryland Sheep and Wool, but the other two I literally cast on in August. This guy also cast on, I think, the very end of July. So those were kind of just like the easier, well, not easier, but like I wanted to get those done. They were quicker whips. They were easy to just like blast through. So I set myself up for a lot of work in terms of the whips because the grunt work is all like what's left. So what's left in my whip list are like 4 pairs of socks, 3 pairs, a lot of socks. I don't know. There's a lot of socks. September socks are on the needles. August socks are done. I finished the August socks. That was like the only pair of socks I finished in August except for a pair of double thick ribbed, like Thanksgiving socks with Knit Picks Felici and Stroll. But now I have, well, I still have the Emma Woodhouse socks in this Haynes House colorway. That's like, the first one is like partially done. I don't even know where that is. It's somewhere upstairs. I haven't seen it in like 2 weeks. Cast on the September socks, and then, which was Mrs. Bennett, so that was fun. I changed my mind about the pattern. I actually knit a pair in the pattern I thought I was gonna do for Mrs. Bennett, and then I changed my mind, which was a little interesting. And I'm happy with my choice. I think that for a variegated yarn, I chose a good pattern. Again, you'll see it in a year. Unless you're my tester, in which case we'll see it in like next March or something when it comes up. What else? What was I talking about? Oh, September socks, and then those Emma Woodhouse socks. And then I have another pair of socks that's like the striped. It's like striped, still striping. So Woolens and Nosh colorway. It's really nice. It's called Mermaid Hair Don't Care, and it's only 3 stripes, which is nice and simple. It has a different colored mini. Those are just my like vanilla Zoom meeting socks. I'm just making afterthought heel socks with them. I really like the colorway though. I really like the base. It's like a Targhee nylon base. It's really nice. I would have shown you them, but I think they're at work. So I usually keep a project at work. So that in case I just forget in the morning, there's a project at work in case I have a Zoom meeting. I also have a 6-sided fidget cube that I keep in my backpack just in case I'm in an in-person meeting. I've gotten to the point where COVID has gone on for so long and like Zoom has just become such a normal thing and like virtual meetings, just because, you know, my colleagues and I come to work now, but there's a lot of like, some people are at home some days and like virtual work, and I don't knit if I'm on a student meeting ever, but you know, sometimes like a student has a virtual meeting with me and they're like 10 minutes late, and I'm like, I have to sit there for 10 minutes to wait. We wait for like 10-15 minutes in the meeting and then we leave, because we're not gonna sit there for like a full half hour, 45 minutes. But like, yeah, so, or like even 3 minutes. If a student is 3 minutes late, I can get like 3 rows done in 3 minutes. That's on a sock. So it's just like, people say, you know, find the time. There is time. You just need to take advantage of all the little moments. And then bigger like work meetings are almost all virtual now still, because like people have different work from home days and stuff. So, you know, it's like, oh, there's the ice maker trying to make ice. Doesn't work. We have like, I know the thing to do, you like flip it up, but there's like so much stuff in our freezer that sometimes it just gets pushed down because there's so much stuff in our freezer. Okay, so back to my whips. Okay, so I have those 4 socks. No, 3 socks? I think there's 4 socks in total. Anyway. Yeah, and then there's, I don't have any vanilla right now. I'll tell you what I'm thinking about in terms of vanilla. I have an idea, because there's something that's like half done that I haven't actually ripped out, but I said I was gonna rip out and I didn't. And now I'm like, I'm glad I didn't rip that out because I have an idea. So there's that. Then it's pretty much just Fair Isle. Other than that, it's like, there's Hilda, which I'm about to show you. Then there's Yell Sweater. Excuse me. I started knitting Yell by Marie Wallen, which is like a jacket that like kind of pulls back because it's just flat, like it doesn't have any neck shaping. It's very cool. I started knitting it like a cardigan. Like my plan was to do it the way you would knit like just a regular cardigan crew neck with shaping and everything, but like a neck steek essentially. I started it in Knit Picks palette 2 summers ago. Tried to finish it in Jameson Smith Heritage. That didn't work. Got more Knit Picks palette. Changed the body pattern because I didn't like how many floats had to be caught, to like a Norwegian pattern. It's very busy. I like worked on it for a few weeks last fall. I recorded a video about it and I never posted it because I just like I don't even feel like enough of it was done for me to show you what it looked like. So that, yeah, I don't know how I feel about that because I think it's gonna be too small. And I don't, like the band has just been like done for like 2 years, and then I did like a little bit of the body, but really there's not that much there, so I'm thinking of just like repurposing it and doing something else. I think palette is a beautiful yarn. It doesn't have the same feel to me as Jameson and Smith, and like, I don't know, maybe I'll do like a vest in that palette and just see if I can do it. I also was using Hiya sharps for that, and I don't want to change to the Chalgoos even though it's the same size of needle, because everything makes a difference in that needle size, or the different needle you use. Like everything makes a difference, and I just don't want the gauge to look like it changed halfway through the sweater, which happened once to me when I changed. I didn't want to rip it out. I think it was I just changed it from Hiya to Chalgoos and it was so much looser. Yeah, it was a bad idea. So it happened before when I changed from Hiya to Chalgoos, and I was like, this is not good. Like, it looks stupid. You can tell there's a difference in the gauge. So I don't really have enough of it done to feel like I want to push through to the end. And I don't like the needles. So that's like a thing I need to process. I haven't really decided yet. I don't know. I wish I had like a studio where I could just like put up swatches on the walls and just like like bands of sweaters that I didn't want anymore, didn't want to finish, could just be like a piece of art. I mean, why can't I frame a swatch? I could just frame it as a swatch. Cool, sure, maybe I'll do that. I don't know. It's just like the bottom band, I'm saying, like there's like a lot of colors in it, and it's like, it's cool, and if I ripped that out, like it would just be tiny little balls because it's Fair So I don't know, maybe I'll show it next time. You can see it before I rip it out, inevitably, because it's not bringing me joy. But okay, so I have Hilda, which if you followed my channel for a little while, I'm about to show it to you because I'm working on that next. Hilda, and I have a cowl that is like a green cowl, and that is supposed to be a Christmas present. I was supposed to have that done in March, but it didn't get done. I was gonna give it to my host mom, Catherine, in England. My host mom, she's my friend, she's like my colleague, but to explain my relationship with her to other people, I just call her my host mom, which does not do justice to who she is in my life. But anyway, that's beside the point. I meant to have that done when I went to England in March, and I didn't. And I made her a hat that the cowl is supposed to go with. And so I think I have to have that done for Christmas. Not that I think she would care at all, but it's like, I need to clear my needles. And then I have to make another Fair Isle hat. Person one as a gift, and I was gonna make the Bonnie Isle hats. Those are cute. I don't sail. I think I might have said this before on my channel, so I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself. I don't sail. I don't really like have any connection to like nautical stuff other than like I really like the ocean. But one of my friends who just got married, Lauren, she and her husband, well, she's a good sailor. Her parents had a sailboat on Lake Champlain when we were growing up, and we used to go sailing with them, and she knows how to sail. She and her husband sail sometimes in Boston, and I was gonna make them the Bonnie Isle hats so that they could, because it's freezing in Boston on the Charles, it's like really cold there, so they would need hats. And I was like, oh, I should make those. But then I made them sweaters for the wedding, and I didn't have time to also make them hats, and so I was like, I'll just do it at Christmas or something. It's one of those things where like, I just kind of knit for people when I knit for them. Like, it's just kind of like random. And it's like, oh, that's a great pattern. I have to knit it. Who am I gonna knit it for? Oh, that person will like it, It's kind of how I operate. It's kind of silly. But yeah, okay. So let's talk about the Hilda jumper. Okay, so the last time we spoke about this, I think, was when I had made the first sleeve and it was way too big. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry. But I was like, okay, Emma, this weekend you need to finish the second sleeve. And then, because I have to reknit the first sleeve, right? So this is Hilda. Finished the body. I started it about a year ago, I think in September last year. Body I finished by New Year's, I think. And then this is my first sleeve, and it's enormous. It's like my leg could go through that. It's just too big. And it was my mistake. I was like, let me decrease every 5 instead of every 4 rounds. That was stupid. I corrected my mistake on this sleeve, which is almost done. Looks much more normal. I mean, it's still kind of wide here at the bottom, but I then decreased a little bit more for the sleeve cap, or the sleeve cap, the cuff, sleeve cuff. I'm just gonna put my coffee out of the way here so we can try this on. So I'm gonna, today, when I finish this second sleeve, I am going to cut this entire sleeve off. Like I'm gonna make one cut at the top on like the second row in, and I'm gonna unravel just that one row, and then I'm gonna try and knit basically off the previous sleeve. Like I'm gonna knit from what I cut off. There are ends woven in, which is gonna make it a little trickier, but I think it's gonna be okay. Like I think I'm just gonna have to like fiddle with that a little bit. I have enough yarn to just like do it again. I'd just rather not waste it. It's like, I already knitted this, I don't wanna throw it away. So I'm just gonna try and repurpose as much of that yarn as possible. But, okay, so. No, this one, it's all right. I was really pleased with how the neck turned out on this. I just did my own edits. So this is the one that fits. I mean, it's still a little roomy, but that's fine. This is just like, yeah, it's like a little crazy. It's very, very balloony. So this one I'm happier with. I considered just kind of like trying to fold it in on itself a little bit and just stitching it in, but there's just so much extra material that's gonna like hit your arms, and I'm like, nah, sorry for the noise. But yeah, I figured, okay, I started this a year ago. Generally fall is when I feel more inclined to knit Fair Isle, fall and winter, just because, you know, it's cozy and it's, I don't know, I'm inside a lot and happy to like focus on something in that way. You know, it takes a lot of focus to knit Fair Isle. If you're pretty experienced with color work, it's okay. It doesn't take that long, but I mean, it takes a long time. What am I talking about? It doesn't take that long. It takes freaking forever to make this many stitches, and but it's like, you know, you kind of look at it and you're like, okay, I can kind of do this I don't really need to look at the charts all the time. You still have to look at the piece, but it's intuitive and your brain can kind of go elsewhere. Like once I found that the more color work I did, the more my brain just kind of started like filling in the gaps. You know, it's like that phenomenon where I remember in 5th grade, this person in my class showed me a sentence and said, can you read this out loud? And I read it out loud, no problem. Like it was just a sentence of words. And then she said, interesting. And she said, look more closely at these words. And like all the letters within the word, other than the first and last one, were jumbled. And I hadn't even known because my brain had filled it in. And she was like trying to make a point, like, oh yeah, I like learned this thing from like one of my parents told me about this phenomenon, and like, isn't it crazy? And I was like, that is crazy. That my brain just filled in. I was 10 years old and my brain just like filled in all the rest of the gaps there. So I think that's what happens with me in Fair Isle. Like when I first started knitting color work, I had focused so hard on what I was doing, like the the floats and the pattern and the everything. Like it was new. It was something that I hadn't done before. But especially once you realize that most of the motifs are really symmetrical, especially horizontally, and most of the time they're also symmetrical vertically, then it just kind of helps you just like, you look at the chart for a second, you do it, especially because the motifs build on each other. So like, you know, I'm knitting this zigzaggy one, for instance. I know exactly, I don't have to look at the chart to understand what the next row needs to look like to fill in that, you know. So I have to look at my piece, but I don't have to be thinking very hard about it. And that's what I really noticed. And that's why I like irregular color work, because you have to focus. It really like, it's, you know, you want to, I always, you know, I talk to my students all the time about like a growth mindset and how they have to have a growth mindset and not a fixed mindset. And so it's like goal setting and like never being stagnant and like, okay, here is how I'm going to fix that. Looking at failures, not as failures, but as setbacks that you can like use to like, it's more like feedback. Like, oh, okay, I got a C on this test. Like, what's the feedback that I'm getting? Not like, and it shouldn't, you know, if you have a fixed mindset, the feedback that, or the, you know, what you're getting, what you're saying to yourself is, I suck, I'm not smart, I'm a failure. Whereas a growth mindset person says, you know, okay, this is where I am now and I want to get here. How do I do that? Right? Like, so you're always pushing your goals forward. Like then you achieve that and you're like, okay, what's the next step? Like how do I, you know, achieve this next thing that I want to do? And like you're moving forward. You're, you know, you're excited to keep going. You don't want to, you're not plateauing. Like you're not trying to get, it's about the journey rather than the destination. You know, that's like the difference for, you know, between fixed mindset, growth mindset. And it's, you know, I have like a little quiz I give my students, like, when do you feel smart? Like, and, you know, the fixed mindset kids answer, you know, when I get a good grade, and I didn't study. And the growth mindset kids answer, when I studied really hard and did well. Like the thing that I worked for paid off. Like so that's my kind of feeling about irregular color work knitting. It's like, well, I don't have to do that, but like, I'm pretty good at color work, obviously. Like I've done a lot of this. Like I understand that, like, you know, I need to push to the next thing. Like, what's the next thing? How am I going to achieve the next thing? And, you know, with color work knitting, that was really like the journey. Like I started with little things. Then I did kind of yoke sweaters and like thicker yarns and a lot of color work. I did a lot of like finger and weight mittens. I did a lot of, just all sorts of little things, hats, mittens, cowls. And I really took me a long time before I kind of became like, I came to the realization that I could probably handle this. And this takes the color work skill, but it also then takes like I said, like you don't want to be thinking too hard about the color work because you're having to do things like figure out your own neck shaping. And that took forever for me to figure out. Like I really had to look at a lot of patterns, buy patterns, figure out how people did neck shaping. Like if you watched my channel from the very beginning or something, like the thing that I was obsessed with, you'll know, is like figuring out how to do a neck steek. I could not understand how that worked for the life of me when I started seeing these Fair Isle patterns. And it was like this thing that I needed to figure out. And I did figure it out. And this one's kind of square, but I really like this crew neck, the way that it goes. If you wanted it to be more round, you'd just put more stitches on hold and do more little decreases along here. But I really love this kind of square, slightly square, what am I talking about? Crew neck here. And I think I didn't use a pattern for that. I just was like, all right, here we go, stitches on hold. Do some decreases around here, steek. And then I did some decreases, knit flat for a bit, ended up grafting the shoulders together up here. Where did I do that? There. Worked great. Put it on, I was like, all right, it fits, cool. But again, this is like my fourth big Fair Isle piece. This is the first time I haven't followed a pattern exactly. The lap wing, I had to modify that to be in the round, and I did do a neck steek for lap wing that I didn't really know what I was doing, and it looks kind of stupid. It still has a boat neck look. I'm thinking, honestly, well, I have thought, at least in the past, about like taking out the neckline and just cutting it. Because people do that. You don't have to steek, you can just cut and then pick up stitches and do your neckline from there. It's like, it's a little crazy, but you can do it. So I thought about it. Yeah, so, yeah, that's like, yeah, right. So there's a lot that goes into, you know, getting somewhere like this. And I'm really like pleased with a lot of things. Actually, the thing that I feel most proud about is that I finished the sleeve and I was like, that's insane. That's not a sleeve, that's a like leg warmer. And I set for this sweater that I wanted to knit, sorry, that like was not clear. But you know, the only thing I thought was I have to rip that out. And this is the thing that I tell every new knitter and knitters that are not new constantly. If you're not gonna wear that, you have to rip it out. You have to rip it out. It sucks so much. But you just, the more you do it, the more you realize like, I'm just gonna knit this again. Like the more you fall in love with the process of knitting, that's gonna help, because you realize like, how many hours do you think I spent doing this? A lot. This is like 30 hours. Maybe not 30 because I'm pretty fast, but that's a lot of hours, right? Like I lost that. Did I lose it? No, it was about the journey of knitting. I love Fair Isle knitting. So I have to tell myself, okay, it's not about that. It's about like, you want to make something that you're proud of and that you want to wear. And if you, and that's the thing that I have to tell people is like, if you want to make something that you're proud of and you want to wear, you got to do the work. Like, you know, it's about the journey, and it makes you feel really good once that thing is done and you know that you went back and you did it the way that you wanted it, and then you have a piece that you want to wear. Because I don't want to wear this. I mean, it's like, I could, but it's just like a lot of bulk, and it like, I do this and it looks weird, right? Whereas here, okay, these aren't blocked yet, keep in mind. Here, it's much more like, okay, there's still some room there, but like, it's a little bit more, you know, normal. This is also like a little oversized, the body as well, which is, so basically, oops, sorry, there's something else I have to show you, and that's why that just hit metal on metal. You know, I kind of wanted to be like, I can put this on over something else and go outside, whatever. So, yeah, it is, this is roomy, but that's fine. I just didn't want it to be quite this roomy. So, need more decreases. It's an easy fix, you know, it's just like, yeah. So, I said to myself last night, okay, you're done with all these whips. And I said to Hannah, I was like, Hannah, this is what I have to do. You need to hold me to this. Like, if I try to cast something on, we do this all the time. We're like, don't let me cast something on. Don't let me cast something on. And we both finished our alpenglows last night. And she was like, okay, I have to finish one whip before I can cast on something new. And I was like, okay, I have to go back to that Fair Isle. And so we say it out loud to each other. And then we're like, we have to be accountable. And if we like break it, we just kind of like laugh at each other, but it's still like, you know, we're doing our best here, because, you know, we both have a tendency to kind of start stuff and then start other stuff and like not finish the first stuff. So, oh, let me talk about that vanilla thing I was going to talk about. Okay. So that vanilla thing, yeah, my low, I think that's how you pronounce it, Leogh, from Fair Isle Weekend by MJ Mucklestone that I started. And I showed it probably like almost a year ago. I started it like a year and a half ago when I was still nannying. I just like did the body, and then I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. The reason I didn't want to do it anymore was because it had drop shoulders, and you had to split the front and the back and do a V-neck, and like there was too much purling, and I was like, I don't want to do it. I had a couple thoughts about it. My first thought was, okay, I'll just cast on sleeves, knit them from the bottom up, and join them, and do like a raglan decrease with a neck, V-neck steek. That's one possibility. But like the pullover is really boxy. It's supposed to be drop shoulder, because a drop shoulder, you get something that's wide, and then the way that, this is a drop shoulder, for instance. This is how a Fair Isle jumper works. It's wider so that it doesn't fall like looking weird. The body has to be wider so that the shoulder can fall like it looks like a normal sleeve. So if you did a raglan with the width of a drop shoulder pullover, you just have a really wide body. Like that's all you would see in that. So I figured, okay, no, unless I like did some decreases and tried to make it kind of A-line, but that I'm like, oh no. So the pattern, by the way, is like, there's just one band of Fair Isle, big band, like a big Fair Isle band, like you'd see on a sweater, like bigger than these, just around the bottom, and the rest is just one color. I think in the book, hers, Mary J. Mucklestone's, is like an oatmeal color, and then the band is red, yellow, and blue. My band is also red, yellow, and blue. It's like red, gold, and dark blue. It's less bright than hers is. And then the body color is just like a plain gray from Jameson & Smith Supreme Jumper Weight. And so what I decided to do, and I was talking to Hannah about this yesterday, and I was like, Hannah, I have an idea. I'm gonna do steeks. I'm just gonna do steeks everywhere. I'm like, I'm just gonna keep knitting the body, and when I get to the armholes, I'm just gonna do 2 armhole steeks and a V-neck steek. And I'm like, I know how to do that. That's easy. It's Shetland yarn. Why not? Then do exactly what I would do for this. Pick up the stitches around the sleeve hole, just cut that open and just knit down. For those of you who are interested, I did not secure my steeks on this at all. And you can see I've got 3. I've got 1, 2, 3, not secured. They're stitched down, but they're not secured. And it didn't unravel. This yarn is sticky. And I realized that I have not said what yarn it is yet. If you've watched my channel, this is like my 4th or maybe 5th video on Hilda. You should know this, but it is Jameson & Smith Jumper Weight Supreme Jumper Weight, Shetland Supreme Jumper Weight, Shetland wool, dye-free. Jumper weight is like fingering weight. This one is 50 grams, 172 meters, 188 yards. This is shade 2004 Muret. Yeah, this is, obviously there's many colors using 2004. This is 2006. Oh, this is attached, so that's attached to this. So this is 2002, which is Musket maybe? I don't know. There's like, they're all natural shades. This one's 2005, which is the Shetland Black. This one is 2000, what's this? 7. I don't know what that's called. It's 4 naturals, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, it's kind of hard to see, but basically there's like, this one's different, and then there's 4 used in here. So there's like the lightest brown, which is also the cuff, the dark, and then this the Moret, and then there's like the medium-ish brown with the super dark Shetland Black. Oh, and then also red, which is just a regular jumper weight. This is slightly thinner than Supreme Jumper Weight because it's dyed and more processed. This is number 9113 maroon. So this, I didn't even say this, Hilda, the pattern that I'm basing this on, is in the Vintage Shetland project by Susan Crawford. I will link the Hilda playlist for those of you who haven't seen the first videos about Hilda, this sweater, this jumper that I've been working on for the last year. I'll link the playlist in the show notes so that you can watch from the beginning if you want more information about it. Because I don't have the book with me right now, but it's upstairs. I just don't want to get it. But you can watch those videos and see like much more information about those colors, my design process. The original piece is like an oversized kind of coat, like it's a long jacket and it's open. A little, it's like to go over. It looks almost like a duster, but it's not floor length. It's really gorgeous. And it's all in natural shades. And when I saw it, I was like, I want a jumper, like this crew neck jumper. And I want those middle bands to be red. That's what I said. Like, I don't know, I've collected Jameson & Smith for a long time. I have a lot of colors. I have cones of natural colors like this one, and this one came off cones. I think these are the last bits from these cones. I did a full Fair Isle jumper in this cone. It's a cardigan. I steeked it. It's the one from Fair Isle Weekend. What's that called? I'll link it in the show notes. It's like, it starts with an M, I think. Anyway, it's cute. It has like an autumnal colored yoke of flowers and trees. It's gorgeous. Thank you, MJ, for designing the most beautiful collection of simple Fair Isle things. Not simple, but a lot of them are accessories, which are just manageable. And then the sweaters are like not all over. There is an all over vest with DK weight yarn. I just feel like for an introduction to Fair Isle knitting, it was a really manageable collection. Like there wasn't anything like this, which is just like kind of overwhelming. Like I wanted to do this after I knit a lot of Fair Isle stuff. And I knew that I kind of had a handle on the shaping and the steeking and like editing patterns to make them fit me. But I have wanted to, like, one of the reasons I started this channel was I was gonna knit my way through Fair Isle Weekend. I'm still working on it. I knit the Molly hat, which was my second episode ever. I knit the Vari cowl. I did that for Brooke, kid's mom, last year. That was so pretty. That was my first Mobius twist cowl. I got totally addicted to those. I loved knitting that cowl. I knit the sweater that I can't remember the name of. I feel like it has two, yeah, names, like 2 words or something. Anyway, that sweater, cardigan, cast it on the next sweater. There's still 2 pairs of little hand warmers, and there's the vest. I know there's 8 patterns total in that book, and I can't think of what the last one is or if I've made it. But regardless, super nice stuff. And I think I'm gonna try and like finish them, like, again, because a lot of them are accessories. One's the vest, again, give me a second and I'll talk about that. But the sweater, the second sweater I can finish because I now have a plan to make steeks, and it's vanilla. This is the reason that I like thought about it, was because I don't have any vanilla whips right now, and I was like, other than my self-striping sock, which is at work, but I was like, oh, I should pull that out and just knit and knit. It's like Shetland's jumper weight yarn. It's so fast. It's like my favorite yarn to knit is Jameson & Smith. Like, it's just like, I don't know, I love it. And it's vanilla, like the rest of it's vanilla. It's gonna have steeks, but it's vanilla. So anyway, I'm gonna try and finish that. What was I saying? The vest. I love the vest, but I don't have DK weight yarn to like in Shetland yarn in DK weight to do that vest. I'm gonna edit it and do it in fingering weight. I'm just gonna knit like, I'm gonna just use a stitch count for a larger size. Actually, I don't even think I need to do that. I really just need the charts to do a vest, because I know how many stitches I need to cast on based on how many all my stitches are in the stitch pattern. Usually the stitch patterns, like whatever the stitch pattern is, like the periods will be like factors of 24, and so just almost all the time in Fair Isle that's true, or like 32 or 48. Like they're usually multiples of 8, I want to say, or like, and the factors all go into 24 that are, and 32 that are like, there's a wide variety of factors, and that, so you can use like a wide variety of stitch patterns that either have like 6 stitch repeats, 8 stitch, 12 stitch, 2 stitch, 4 stitch, 3 stitch, 8 stitch. Yeah, I've said 8, that kind of thing. Sorry, that was math talk, but 288 is how many I usually cast on for a body. For me, knowing my gauge and knowing that that is a multiple of 24. So I think 288, yeah. Sorry, correct me if I'm wrong. It's been a minute, so I might be off by a couple stitches, but yes, I'm gonna knit that vest, but in just jumper weight, because I don't feel like I should buy more yarn with the amount I have, especially of Shetland. I have a lot of Shetland wool, and I'm like, yeah, just use it, man. Just do your thing with that, you know? I might make it teal themed. I was gonna make a tealish themed vest for my friend Erin. I was gonna make one for my friend Lila. She wants purples. I don't know, I have people to knit for. These people will always be in my life. I'm not worried about getting anything done. My friends understand that, like, I knit when I knit, and they trust my process, which is good. But yeah, so that's that going on. Those are my Fair Isle whips, and I've decided that it's time to go ham with Fair Isle again. I'm like, it's September. Do your thing, have a vanilla project, have your socks, and then when you're at home, you knit Fair Isle until these things are done. I would like to, you know, get into cables or something maybe this winter with something. I have some plans. I do want to really knit that, what is it called? It's like flower yoke, Mattie, M-A-T-T-I-E, cardigan by Kristen Drysdale in the Bichet Bouche that I have in my stash. I would love to knit a Fair Isle sweater with Bichet Bouche. That's what I'm saying, Fair Isle. It's not Fair Isle style specifically, but it's color work, yoke, round yoke. It's really pretty. It has flowers on it. And I have like a dark blue and a very light blue in Bichet Bouche that I've had for like 3 years. And I'm like, I want to use that. That yarn's beautiful. I want that cardigan. I love light blue, matches my eyes. It looks good. I'm gonna get that. So, or I'm gonna get that pattern and knit that. I think after I finish some of this stuff, I have to make the second reindeer sweater also. And that's gonna be mostly vanilla. So I might cast that on soon too. Okay, another thing I've been working on, something I did yesterday. So Hannah and I got home, we went to the Walters yesterday. Hannah's my roommate, if you're new to my channel. It's Labor Day weekend, so we were like, oh, let's do something fun. Like, we didn't have any like super rowdy plans because, well, I'm exhausted. It was the first week of school, and so we just like, I had an insane week where like I have not been that busy at work in ever. So students were in and out, just because we're open again, like the office is physically open and students can just walk in, and they did in droves. So you know, it makes the days go by quickly, and the problems that they have most of the time are like, I want to switch this class for this one. I don't know how, like, can you help me figure out how that's going to fit in my schedule? It's like regular advising. So it doesn't take like a lot of like, you know, it takes understanding of like campus and like, okay, well, that class is full, and if this many people are on the wait list, you should probably not join that wait list. And if you do want to get into that class, you're gonna have to wait until the wait list deactivates. It's like explaining university policies to them rather than my normal job, which is like problem solving with students. So it doesn't take a ton of brain power. It makes the days go by fast. It makes me feel helpful, you know, things like that. I'm lucky to have a really varied job. Like in the summer, I get to do like orientation advising, which is busier, more like, okay, you know, it's like data entries. Some of it is, you know, because you're like looking at the students, like what their intended major is, and this is where they are in their math journey. And so we're going to recommend these classes. But you know, each one is different. And so sometimes you have to kind of problem solve with the student in real time on the orientation call. But during the year, I get to do like skill building with them, and I get to like have individual one-on-one conversations about like how they're doing, how they can improve, that kind of thing. So that is very fulfilling to me. It's like I get to do a lot of different things. I get good experience, and I get to work with students pretty much every day. So yeah, it's like an amazing job. Okay, to go back to yesterday, we got back, we went to Neighborhood Fiber Co. and I got this shirt. And it was like 4:30 and we were kind of tired, but like we were just gonna like hang out and watch movies and have dinner. Like it was a really chill night because it was hot. We were outside, we walked. And I was like, oh wait, I have bare yarn in my car. Let's dye yarn. Like we have a stove, I have pots, I have the dye, we have masks. That's all, you know, we both have N95 masks because it's COVID. We have vinegar. We don't need anything else. So we literally dyed, I mean, not a lot of yarn, but I was like, let's just do this. Cause she was like, yeah, I've never done that before. Like that'll be fun. So I'm just gonna put these away. So we dyed a couple skeins of yarn, just, put the towel on the table so that, because it's still in the pot because it's wet. I dyed this skein of yarn blue, and that's fun. It's like a sport weight Peruvian Highland wool, inexpensive, kind of a workhorse. I also dyed a mini skein. I always dye mini skeins. It looks gross, I'm sorry. This needs to dry and then be twisted into a skein. But you know, it's otherwise cool. It smells good because I washed it in the jasmine wool wash, and I have a bunch of those sports skeins that are still white. Like I have like 4 more still, but I have some that I dyed a couple years ago, and I'm thinking about making a striped sweater with the 4 of them. I don't know, these 2 plus the other one are like more jewel tone, and then this one's like different, so maybe not this one, but like, I don't know, that could be pretty. I don't know, I'm just like, I have these things and I'm like, how am I gonna use them? I have a lot of things that I'm like, oh, I have like 4 like single skeins of a color, I should do stripes, or like I have a ton of Lopi leftovers, I should do stripes. I don't know if I want to wear that many striped sweaters. But I guess that's just like where my head's at. I'm like, oh yeah, stripes. So I could just make single things. I could make like, you know, cowl in one color that's like textured or something with this yarn. Like I don't know why my brain goes where it goes, but it does. I actually think it would be cool for like these two and then the dark blue and then like the bigger stripes and then like smaller stripes, maybe with like a little slip stitch pattern in between in these, in this color. I don't know. It's a thought I had. We'll see. If you have any suggestions for what I should do with 400 gram skeins of sport weight non-superwash yarn, let me know. I could do colorwork mittens with the dark blue and the light blue. Actually, that would be really cute. Those would be pretty. I just don't really do mittens that much anymore. Colorwork mittens were like a phase I had. This needs to be reskeined. You know, 5 years ago. And I love to do it, but not with fingering weight. Like now when I make colorwork mittens, it's like, okay, I'm either using like serious Norwegian wool, like Rama, like Selbu yarn, or there it is, nice. Or, you know, I make them worsted weight and it takes a day to make a full pair. Like that's what I want from my journey of colorwork mittens right now. I do not want these to take a month anymore. Like I've gone through that phase and I'm like, I don't want to do that anymore. Maybe one day again I will do it, but I do have that Selbu mittens book that I really like doing little designs from it. I know, like I also have like the Selbu patterns book. I could like make a cowl with, you know, these. I don't know. I have a lot in my head right now, kind of going into the fall season. One thing I also want to do, like a vague plan I have, is to knit a colorwork cowl. Like, if you watch my channel, like last winter, I made this cowl that was like blues and gray and then a pop of pink. And every band that I made with the Selbu patterns book, I just made a cowl, and the inside was a ball of cashmere that my brother had got me for Christmas. Just so it was like really cozy on my neck. And if you've like ever seen like the Snuggle is Real cowl, that's like this beautiful DK weight kind of tube with, it has drawstrings too, and the inside is like double stranded Surrey alpaca. And I made a bunch of kits for that, went like dyed yarn for kits for that last summer for my yarn store at home in Vermont. And I made a sample and it was so comfortable, and I loved it. But so I'm like, that was like another thing. I'm like, okay, how can I, like, especially if you're making it for someone else, they might not want like a single, like they might want something against their neck that's softer. So I've thought about like double stranding mohair, or like double stranding mohair and fingering weight merino, and I think, or like sock yarn or something soft. So I think I might try and do something like that, and then release that pattern, because people seem to like the idea of that. So we'll see. That's another idea. And I could do that with this yarn too, I guess. Design cowls. I don't know, there's so much that I want to knit in so little time. I mean, I'm trying not to buy more yarn, right? Like, I'm doing a good job not buying yarn, but I am going to New York Sheep and Wool. I'm going to Rhinebeck, so I'm not gonna not buy any yarn at Rhinebeck. But I don't know, man. I don't know. So we'll see what happens. There's people walking by. We'll see what happens. Anyway, I have to go grocery shopping. This has been almost an hour. I have to go grocery shopping. It's Sunday. I don't have any plans today. It's so nice. I'm going to the beach tomorrow with my roommates and some of our other friends. But like, yeah, it's nice to not have any plans and just like be able to just like let the knitting consume me if I want it to. You know, it's just like cool. All right. So yeah, it might be a roommate day today, because Jordan was not here yesterday, but she's coming back today. And yeah, we'll see. Anyway, yeah, thank you for watching. If you have any questions, just put them in the comments. You can also email me, barnabyknits@gmail.com. Show notes are down below. You can follow me on Instagram, Ravelry, Twitter. Don't really tweet knitting stuff, but sometimes I do. All those links are in the show notes. Smash that subscribe button if you want to see more. Ring the bell if you want to get notified. What else do I need to say? Nothing. Thanks for watching.
This has been Tiny Desk Knitting with Emma. Bye.